Hey there, YouTube. I'm going to do a quick review here on my 2006 Triumph Thruxton 900 and try to go with a little bit into all the Triumph Thruxton 900s. This was always a bucket list bike for me. It just looks cool. I've always wanted a cafe racer. I've attempted to build two and wound up giving up on the project after I got somewhat, a rideable bike, but never got it to where I wanted it to be. The Thruxton was always, I was like, I want a Thruxton, but I don't want to pay for a Thruxton. So when I found this Thruxton, obviously not in the best condition, the engine cover, all the clear coat has been kind of flaking off, but it's a completely rideable, perfectly good bike at a good price. I said, you know what, now's my time to own a Thruxton. So I bought it. What are my thoughts? All right, we'll start with the engine. That's what everyone wants to know. I didn't know anyone who had a Bonneville. I didn't know anyone who had a Thruxton. Never had a chance to ride one, so the only way I could really get the experience was just buy it. So I did. The engine, I'm going to say, it's not, this is not going to scare anybody, all right? But if you've ever ridden a Harley 883, I would say the power delivery is exactly the same, up to about 5,000 RPM. And then it pulls a little bit higher and gives you a little more power on the top end. I drag raced my buddy with a Harley Night Train with a 96 cubic inch and a 6-speed, and pulled on him a little bit. Harleys obviously are not fast bikes, but they're completely reasonable and they're torquey, and that's where this bike is. It's torquey. This thing, it has a 7,500 red line. Now, I believe all the Triumphs then had a 7,500 red line. And the fuel-injected Triumphs, the Thruxtons, in 2009 had like an 85. So I'm like, I tried Googling it. Are there different cams? Is there different horsepower ratings for the fuel-injected versus this? And there wasn't. So I think that red line is completely false. I've pulled this thing to 8,500, no problem. And it pulls right up there. The CDI doesn't shut off the ignition. Pulls right up hard to 8,500. So I think that red line is false, but I don't know. It doesn't really reward revving. This is a torque motor. It is by far the best parallel twin I've ever ridden. Now, that said, I've only ridden Kawasaki parallel twins. I've rode the Ninja 500 back in the day. I bought one for my wife before we had kids. I hated that bike. Was not a fan of the engine. I was not a fan of the way you sat on it. And I had a brief ownership of a Versus 650. Then I did not like the parallel twin in that either. It just, I don't know, I didn't like the power delivery. This one is very smooth. It's very Harley-esque without the vibration, obviously. But it's like a non-vibrating Sportster. 883 as far as the torque curve and as far as power. And, I rarely rev this thing over 5,000 when I ride it. This thing likes to just be torqued around in low gears. It's a nice, fun motor, but nothing that's going to scare the hell out of you. It does everything I want it to do. Now I'm 50 years old now. I'm kind of done with sport bikes. I do have a Yamaha XSR 900, which is super fun, but that's as much power as I need. I've had a ZX14 in the past. I've had a Hayabusa. I've had a bunch of ZX7. I've had a ZX9. I've had, a bunch of sport bikes. And, I've realized that's really not for me anymore. But this bike turns heads everywhere you go. No one knows how old it is. People think it's from the 70s. It's kind of cool. And for the most part, this is kind of like a reliable 70s bike. The suspension is kind of harsh. It's fine on smooth roads. You get on a lot of a pothole road, it's not where you want to be. But honestly, you don't want to be on this thing for more than 45 minutes because these clip-ons, which were changed in the 2008 model, I think 2008 or 2009, when they went to fuel injection, these are ungodly uncomfortable. You can see they clip on here underneath the handlebars. They're very low. And because the seat's kind of high, because it's just a regular seat, you're really crouched down. I watched the reviews before I bought this thing, and people are like, oh, no, it's not that bad. Those are like paid magazine articles where, they're giving a press bike, and they're not going to say, this thing's unbelievably uncomfortable. those handlebars are unbelievably uncomfortable. They're kind of cool. They're fun for about half an hour. 45 minutes, you're like, I got to get off. I drove yesterday for 2 hours. I went for 45 minutes, had breakfast, did an hour and 15 on the way home. And by the time I got home, this is not the hardest clutch to pull. It's not the lightest, but it's not bad. It hurt my hand because of that crap position I was in. So bad, I was shifting without the clutch because I just couldn't bear to pull the clutch in again. So all up shifts, I was just clicking up. That said, the gearbox in this thing is unbelievably nice. This thing shifts so well. There's never a miss shift. It just snicks into gear. It doesn't care if you use the clutch. You can, throttle, blip, whatever. It's a really nice transmission. The engine is, people say it's beginner friendly. I'd say it is beginner friendly. If you have any amount of experience with like a dirt bike or whatever, which is where I think you should start learning how to ride, is on a dirt bike. You learn a lot from riding on the dirt. You learn, if you slide a little bit, you can, you expect those things, and you don't panic when it happens to you on the street. People complain about the tire size. I mean, I think they look right. This thing is not a handling machine. It is a old school suspension, and I know these rear shocks are made in China or wherever they are. They're some aftermarket no-name brand, and they're probably not the best. The guy I bought it from said they were way better than the stock ones, but he didn't have the stock ones anymore, so I can't compare it. They look better, so I'm going to leave them on. It's a fun bike. I really enjoy riding it. It keeps me out of trouble because it doesn't want me to keep revving. It's kind of like riding a Harley. It's how Harleys keep you out of trouble. Like, you're just happy torquing around. You feel a little torque in first, you feel a little torque in second. You get up to the speed limit of 10, 15 miles an hour over it, and you're done. There's no wind protection to keep you comfortable at high speeds, although over 50, the wind does help take a little bit of weight off your wrists. But it's a good fun bike. I think I'm going to keep it for a little while. I have a tendency to buy a bike because I just want to ride it. I'll ride it for a little while, and I'll sell it. And I'll buy some other bike I've always wanted to ride. This was a bucket list bike. I'm going to put a little time into it. I'm going to change the bars. I cannot ride like this. The bike actually came with some heli bars that look like they raised it up about 2 inches. I think they're going to be ugly, but I think I got to put them on. If I don't like the way they look and I'm happy with the bike still, I will see if I have to change maybe this top clamp to a newer one and then put the handlebars on it. But I'm going to start with just putting the heli bars on, which just have a higher rise. I don't think I have enough room in the clutch cable and the brake cable to do it, so I got to get a new line for that. And then that's my plan. But I don't know. All in all, it is a fun bike. It is a good bike if you don't really want to go fast. If you're happy riding a Sportster and you're happy with that power delivery, but you want something a little more unique, a little more fun, I'm not going to say even it handles better because suspension's probably about as good as on a Sportster. But something a little more sporty feeling. This is your bike. It's fun. It turns heads. I get people talking to me all the time. It's very approachable. Everyone wants to look at it because you don't see them very often. Now, I have a friend who has the 2017 Thruxton R, the 1200. That bike is the most beautiful bike I've ever seen in my life. And that has really nice power, really nice torque. Not sport bike power, but really nice torque. And if I could only have, I don't know, if you could only have one bike, that might be it. That might be it if you wanted a real piece of art to be your bike that you ride around. So I'll give it a positive review, but not a positive review if your goal is comfort, although I think the fuel-injected ones will be, with the handlebars are much more comfortable, and that would be more of a daily rider. This is more of a weekend, back road, an hour in the saddle on some twisty roads. That's what this bike is for, as long as your pavement is good. All right, that's my Thruxton review. It's just a damn cool looking bike that, it's fun.